Good afternoon. This is Geo-Environmental Atmospheric Forecaster Andrew Fleck, and what we're going to pose a very short video on are some of the variables that come into play for this midweek big snowstorm that many people are talking about for the Mid-Atlantic. There's going to be about 2 or 3 parts that really come into play here that are very important. I'm going to sit down here, I'm going to discuss them. What I have provided here in front of you are on the left the GFS model and of the right the European model. Now, anybody who's been following us at Geo has come to understand that the Euro has seemed to be the outlier. It's more south. The GFS, along with the NAM, that's more north. That's now not just giving those of Virginia and Maryland snow, but also into Pennsylvania. So we're going to sit here, we're going to discuss some of those variables and really foretell what needs to happen for either that GFS and NAM to occur or that Euro, and really look at these models by sea surface pressure, what that's really giving us as for indications of which will do what. So let's first turn our focus to the left image. That's our GFS image. Now, what the GFS does, different from the Euro at this time frame, is it's more stronger with the low pressure. Now, this low pressure at this time is about centered over the Mississippi River. We have it right down here. Now, if we go over to our right image, we can see the Euro is in the same position, but the Euro is a little weaker with that low. Now, common physics, you have a counterclockwise airflow that's out of a low pressure system. So the stronger that is, which is what the GFS is showing, would vamp that low pressure to go a bit further north. Now a little weaker, and obviously it wouldn't vamp so much north, but maybe rather east-northeast. So that's the difference right there that we come away with, that the GFS is stronger, that the Euro is a little weaker. And so that causes really, at this point west of the region, which is a little more north and which is a little more south to start out. Now, the next variable that we look at, and this is probably among maybe one of the most important variables, is the actual blocking. Now, we see that the GFS has a weaker block, and that is directly centered to the north and to the west, and the European has a stronger block. And so I think at the end of everything, once everything's sought out, the next 18-24 hours, we're going to know exactly what's going to happen here. If not already, some people can put some maps out. We can look at some first head guidance. But for right now, I think this is what it's going to come down to, is the blocking. And the major variable that we look at here is this area of low pressure centered very much northeast, and out here in the Atlantic. Now, both GFS and Euro do lean to show this, but the European has a stronger high pressure. So we see that in the European image, there's really so much of this high is so strong that it's separating basically our coastal low, or this low that's going to be affecting the region, from the actual low up here further off to the northeast. So there is a split, and that would cause more of the high pressure to have influence and force the low pressure southward. Now, if we come over here to the right, or excuse me, the left, and we look at the GFS, we can find that we have our center low pressure here on the coast. We have our much further offshore low pressure to the northeast, but yet the high pressure is much weaker, and so both of these connect. And so where this low pressure goes, this low pressure also follows. And that's why we have a more northern low pressure affecting off the GFS, those from Virginia, Maryland, and northward. So what do I really think? Well, I know for a fact that we'll have at least a better guidance which low pressure at the time of the Mississippi River or somewhere around that region, how strong that is determines how more vamped north this is going to pull before it has more of an influence on that northern low pressure out there in the Atlantic and the blocking that comes into play when all of this enters our region by Tuesday and Wednesday. So for now, we just need to sit tight. We went over some variables. I hope you guys understand this is what we're playing with here. Again, we've explained that if the models and the current analysis were to go toward the Euro, we would see more of a southern tire precipitation, not so much affecting Pennsylvania, but though on the contrary, if the GFS is correct, this would be more north, and that because of the earlier strength of the low pressure out there in the west and of course its connecting of the upper level low further off shore into the Atlantic. So for now, I'm geoenvironmental atmospheric forecaster Andrew Fleck. Continue to follow GEO with more updates at www.geoea.org. Have a good rest of your afternoon, guys.